Hello everybody. So in our previous assignment we were looking at exposures for the most part. We took an overexposed image and we balanced out the shadows and the highlights in order to get a good scope on the visuals. And we noticed that we went from a very flat image to a more colorful, vibrant image. And that's what we're going to do over here, except one of the issues that we have when we are doing a green screen is that if you delete the green screen and you place yourself into a different environment than what you are. So like for example, right now I'm in a fluorescent cream colored room, and that affects the color of me on the video. And if you delete the green screen behind me and you place me into a different environment, then the color of me also needs to change to match the environment. So in this video, what we are going to do is we are going to take the video, delete the green screen, put a background in, and then modify the color, looking at the exposure, looking at the saturation, and looking at the color itself, and trying to modify those things so that we can then have a video that looks like it actually is taking place in the background. So, in your video, you're going to cut all this part out and just jump straight to me being in different places. So, your video will start here. Hey everybody, I'm in a green screen room and we need to get rid of that green screen and go somewhere else. Oh, I'm so cold. I'm so cold. Why is it so cold? Oh, 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 it is hot. It is hot in here. Oh, I must be in Mars or something. It's so hot. Oh, I need to go somewhere with no color. Just. And now I must have gone. Where did all the color go? Oh, I need more color than this. Let's go somewhere bright and exciting and just really colorful and vibrant. Ah, there we go. There we go. This is it. This is the kind of place I want to be. I feel bright and colorful. My background is bright and colorful. So much better than being cold or hot or just completely colorless. I think I'm going to stay here. So we just watched an example of what it is I want you to do. So I want to do a quick run through of what I did to the video to change the color, because ultimately that's what this project's all about. We already know about exposure and we know about saturation, so today we're going to play around with actual coloring of your video. So when we look at this beginning part over here, this is the part that you're going to delete. When we select it and then press Command 7 to bring up our color viewer, it's okay, but I have everything flat, as you can see, and then I corrected it a little bit. You can see the difference between the part where you're going to start is I brought the midtones and the highlights down just to give my image a bit of a darker color. You can see over here, this is just me standing in the green screen room with the fluorescent lights on, and it doesn't look good. So here I tried to bring back some kind of skin tone, and rather than just this washed out white over here. So I corrected the exposure and saturation on this part of the video, but the magic happens when we get to this part of the video. And I'm going to show you about what I'm doing here. So the first thing that we need to do, of course, is make your edits. So the first thing that you need to do is clean up the audio. If you listen to the video that I made and if you listen to the video that you have, there is a lot of noise in the background. So your first order of business is to clean up the audio. Your second order of business is to break this up into different segments. And I gave you a audio cue. And if you pay attention to my edits here, you'll see that you can actually hear me snap my fingers in the waveform. So all you need to do is line up your edits on the snap and then make your edits so that there are sharp transitions from scene to scene. So once you have those, you will need to drop the green screen from the background, and you do that by going into your effects browser. That would be this icon over here, and you'd use the keyer, and you just drag this over and drop it onto your various segments. You may notice that the green screen doesn't work that well. There may be a little bit of a green tinge around my shoulders, and that's because I'm not using a backlight like I should have been using. I just was standing in a fluorescent lit room with no additional lights. When you have those lights set up correctly, then you can have a backlight that will offset you from the green screen. You can play around with the green screening here by going into the keyer menu, and if you scroll down in the keyer menu to spill suppression or into the matte tools, you can see I did a little bit of shrink expand over here. So you can play around with these different dials and knobs and find the best way to get rid of the green around my shoulders. We have our clips edited down into different sections on the snap. We have used the keyer to remove the green screen, and I also provided you with these files to put behind me. So two of these, the snow and the animated colorful something, have sound to them. You need to, of course, delete the sound from those by right-clicking and detaching audio and then deleting the audio. The next thing you need to do, you may notice that there are black borders on this file. There's a black border again here, and there's a border all the way around. So what you do is you simply click on the image, and your spatial conform needs to be fill. And you see now it fills up the screen. And again, I will go bring my playhead over here, click on black and white city, go down to spatial conform and fill. And then Mars heat, yet again, click on the image, spatial conform, fill, and now I have all of my backgrounds completely filling. So how do I get my images so that I am kind of bluish in this blue area, kind of reddish in this red area, colorless in this colorless area, and colorful in this colorful area? Well, what we do is we click on our video segment, and then what you will do in your color viewer, what you will have is a color board set up already because you would have needed to balance out your color to begin with. Once you have your exposure and saturation corrected, you can then go over to a color wheel. So you'll come, I have one already created here, but you'll come down and select this one over here, color wheels. So this is the one that I've selected. And basically with the color wheel, actually let's turn this off, and we'll add another one here. So when you have your color wheel, you are using the same things like you used in the previous video, where you are playing around with the master, the shadows, highlights, midtones, except this time you can actually drag these around. So I want this area, as we can look in the background, this is kind of a blue-green scene. So I'm going to take my master color and I'm going to drag this all the way over and try to get a bluish-green color in it. And I can go into my shadows, and again, not too much though, just get a little bit of a blue-green happening like that. And then all I do on the left-hand side of these, you are increasing the intensity of the color. You can see on the left-hand side here on my color viewer, it changes from black and white to blue and then a deeper blue. And I don't want this bright blue. I want this to be kind of a darkish blue. On the right-hand side here is the brightness. So of course, that doesn't look realistic. But if we bring this down and bring my shadows down, then I can start playing around with the intensity of my color by moving these dials up and down.
and I can also change how dark or bright it is. So I want this to be kind of bright because this is a daytime shot, but I also want it to be subdued and bluish, greenish kind of color. So you'll just play around with these until you feel like you have gotten something that looks more like this. So again, this is really just you playing around with color and trying to make me look like I'm standing in the middle of the snowy background. The same thing goes for this red area, except in this time, instead of jumping to, if we look over here, you may notice all of my colors have been pulled over to blues, and then in this red area, I've pulled all my colors over to red. And again, you'll see on my color viewer, I have a good spread. I didn't make my colors too bright because then it wouldn't look realistic. So I am trying to keep a balance between how intense my colors are and having it look at least a little bit realistic. The black and white option, you might be tempted to just go into your color board like we did I showed you in the previous video, and just drop your saturation all the way down. But if you drop your saturation down here, what you will do is remove all the color from all the video, including the background, which means it will delete the green screen. So you don't want to go to the color board here. You want to make sure that you're staying with the color wheels. And then all I did here is I just went to the master and dropped it down to no color. And I dropped the saturation all the way down. And again, you can play around with the brightness and darkness. You can see that I've moved my dials around because this is a dark background. This is a nighttime shot. So I wanted me to appear dark, but still without any color. And then finally, this sort of fantasy scene with lots of different bright colors. I shifted my color palette to be more of a blue-purple slash very saturated, which then gives me this oversaturated, very bright, colorful look. For this assignment, all you're going to do is do some basic editing, basic keying, basic audio correction, and then the tricky part is using these color wheels and operating so that you can get the right color for the scene. So this is the hard part, getting the different colors for these different scenes. And you can see as I click through these different segments, my color wheels change and move around because they should all be different colors.